the meeting to order and start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Roll call, Mayor Kratzky, I am present. Groko,
Present.
Kufal,
Present.
Padilla,
Present.
Rose,
Present.
and Eker is absent tonight. We have one change to the agenda under the library 9GI. We're going to add hiring Amy Bell as a part-time librarian. Any other changes to the agenda?
No.
Okay, then I will take a motion to approve the agenda tonight.
So move.
We have a motion from Kufal. Do we have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Rose. Any comments or discussion about the agenda? Not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Comments, updates, concerns? Do we have any updates, comments from citizens? How about from council members, any updates?
I went down to the Division Street block party, so that's a nice little turnout, so it's kind of nice to see those going on yet. Fire department and ambulance and police officers stopped down, so.
Yes, thank you for going. I was unable to attend, but glad that someone went from council, so thanks for doing that. The reason I'm coming late tonight is I was at the Miss Gaylord judging, so this is a busy week for a lot going on in our community, so. Okay. Any other updates from council? How about any updates from city staff?
I have one item, just wanted to run by you quick. In my email last Friday, if you had an opportunity to read that, I mentioned from the last personnel committee meeting that the committee had talked about the library staff and their lunch breaks. And in the past, they apparently were getting paid for that half-hour break, whereas our personnel policy states that it is supposed to be an unpaid lunch break. And the committee consented to continue to enforce the personnel policy as written. I'm just bringing it up to see if you're okay with that decision of the personnel committee, or if you'd like me to place it on the council agenda in the future as an item of discussion and review. So I'm just looking for some direction. There was a letter that was from one of the library staff that was presented or submitted to the council and myself, and that's why I'm bringing this up. I have had an opportunity to meet with the staff person.
I say, my opinion is keep it as is. That's what's in the policy and follow that. That's what it's there for.
Any other thoughts or questions? Are you just looking for consensus?
Yeah,
tonight?
I'm looking, if you're okay with the decision that the personnel committee made is acceptable, or in the alternative, if you'd like it to come to a council, put it on a future council meeting for discussion.
I'm good with the committee meeting.
I'll agree with Scott.
Okay,
I'm good with it.
Tony's nodding his head, so I think everyone's good with it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Anything else?
No.
We have the consent agenda, so I will take a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second it.
Motion by Padilla, seconded by Groko. Any questions or comments about the consent agenda? Okay, hearing none, we'll move, or all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. We don't have any public hearings on the agenda tonight. Communication requests and petitions. There's a lot going on this week, as we said earlier. Royal Story Time, Gaylord Fire Department's annual chicken dinner on Friday. Raptor Center in the Park was canceled. On Friday afternoon is the UCC Pie and Ice Cream Social. Golf tournament coming up for Sibley County Cancel Fighters, and then the Senior Center newsletter. Next, we'll move on to department committee reports and action items. The first thing on our agenda. Does Ty have any updates on I&I?
No.
Okay, so then the first thing on our agenda is the police department, and we have a dangerous dog designation appeal, and I'll invite Chief Eichten to come up to the podium and present to us.
Good evening, everyone. That's correct. Just the one item I have on the agenda tonight is the dangerous dog appeal hearing. Gaylord Police Department responded to a dog bite complaint back on July 13th of this year. A woman was bitten on the leg by a dog, which she reported was unprovoked. It broke her skin and drew blood. The owner was served by the Gaylord Police Department with a dangerous dog packet. The Rangel family is here tonight. The reason the reason the family got served with the dangerous dog packet is our city ordinance states that when an unprovoked dog bites a human on public or private property, the dog should be labeled as potentially dangerous. That happened actually twice, back in May of 2020 and again in February of 2022. After the dog, what the ordinance and state statute says is if the dog then bites another human after the owner's been served with the potentially dangerous dog packet, the dog should then be designated as a dangerous dog. So just to kind of recap, this would be the third time this particular dog has bitten someone walking in the neighborhood, 3 times now in the last 5 years. They've been served the potentially dangerous dog packet, and then a few weeks ago, the Gaylord Police Department served them with the dangerous dog packet. In that packet, they have a right to appeal that designation as a dangerous dog, and the Rangel family is here tonight to plead their case.
Okay.
And then I guess I should say that the victim, if you will, is also here tonight as well.
Okay. What's our protocol? One involved.
So I think now would be appropriate time for the dog owners to address the council. And after that, I can walk the council through kind of what the options are in terms of a finding. And council will also have the opportunity to ask any specific questions to either Chief Eichten, the dog owners, or the victim.
Okay. Rangel family, do you want to come up to the microphone? For the record, please state your first and last name and your address.
How you doing? My name is Marco Rangel, and I live on 414 Perry Avenue, Gaylord. And I'm here today to defend my dog and plead my case to. I just don't understand what happened this time, why he bit somebody again, especially the same person, and especially the same person calling the cops late again, which I don't understand, and it's very hard to. I'm not saying she's lying, but I've been with my dog for 8 years. He's only 40 pounds, and I've never seen him aggressive or towards anybody bite. I just don't understand what he did or his actions, why he did that. And I don't want to sit here and tell her that she's a liar or anything like that. I just want to state here that just please give my other dog this last chance, because when I was reading the ordinance, I had an opportunity to plead that my dog's not dangerous. When I was reading the files, when I had an opportunity to show, hey, my dog is not dangerous, but I never got a chance to know that until I seen the rules of the handbook. So I was wondering if this can be the last time, and I'm willing to pay for the damages that my dog did. I own up to it. It's my dog, and it's my only dog that I had. I already lost another one before that, and I'm not trying to lose this one. I'm willing to give up whatever it is to keep him alive. And again, I apologize to Amy for whatever he did to you, and I'll stay in that right now. Again, I'm sorry. But,
Does the council have any questions for him?
Did we ever get paperwork on the vaccinations?
yes,
I saw it wasn't proven on the day of, but I mean, did we?
he's vaccinated and he's up to date and everything.
That is correct.
And my understanding is that your dog was free roaming at the time of the
And
bite?
unfortunately, I don't know, because I work at 5 in the morning, so it's hard to say. But I do have a routine where I do take him every morning to the bathroom, and I bring him back in, and then I go off to work. But that day, I remember just heading off to work. I don't know, again, maybe I left the door open or something, I don't know. But that day, I remember I was in a rush and I had to go to work.
That's also another city ordinance, is that, you know, owners have to be in control of their dogs at all times.
Correct.
That means behind a fence, on a lead. So that's, you know, it's to keep other people safe, but also keep your dog safe. If your dog, you know, we all love our pets, but they can be unpredictable, and it's one way to ensure that your dog won't be put in that position if you properly restrain them.
Just so I'm clear, is it your position tonight that you're not aware that your dog bit the victim, or you don't believe that it happened, or are you?
I just don't understand. I just wish that she called right away. If this is the second time, I just wish right when it happened, she'd call the cops right away. And you know what? It would have been, it is what it is, you know? But it's really hard to believe, you know, like I said, I've been around my dog for 8 years. He's never been aggressive towards anybody, towards kids or anybody. So I did wanted to bring the opportunity to bring him up here to prove, but again, you know, I wasn't there when that happened. So it's kind of hard for me to believe like he did that. Because otherwise, if I would have knew my dog was like that, then obviously I would have to put him down, because he's not just in danger to somebody else, to the public, he's in danger to my family too. And that's where I had to take the step for everybody's safety.
Can I ask? Did he, though, not bite 2 times prior to this?
Yes.
So then you should be aware that he would bite, because it's happened twice before this. Is that correct?
The first time my wife seen it, she said the lady was walking. The second time when she got bit again, nobody seen it. And again, it was reported late again. And then the second time it happened again, and it's the bite of the wound is just kind of hard, you know. Again, I don't want to say she's lying, you know, I really don't, but it just doesn't look much of a dog bite compared to when you get a dog bite, there's more than a couple marks compared just to one, you know. And again, I don't want to say she's lying, you know.
Well, and it's my understanding, there's been 2 different people that were bit. Is that correct?
The first one is the lady down the street, and this lady twice.
So you mentioned that 2 times you haven't seen it happen, so that means your dog is unsupervised, not leashed up, not kenneled up or anything, so it's just running unsupervised outside.
At the moment, again, I work a lot. I work here in town,
Well,
and a lot of times I'm not there, so I can't see what's going on, or where my kids are just not paying attention. You know, a lot of times that happens too. Then I catch him running around, and then I got to yell for him, and then I tell my kids like, "Hey, come on," you know. And then again, I'm responsible for my kids and my dog, so I can't sit there and put all the blame on them. Like I said, I'm here to own up to everything what happened, but I'm willing to relocate him or somewhere else, or pay the damages, do what I have to do. But I can't lose my other dog again. I mean,
Looks like there's been a little bit of a history of the dog at large, based on the police report from this last incident.
prior to that, I had 2 dogs. And again, a lot of times, I know a lady down the street, she's a dog lover, and a lot of times, if she sees something or the dog running around, she'll call the cops. Last time I had the cops, they were going to give me a ticket, and I said, I'm getting all these tickets while you guys are just allegedly saying my dog's running around. When I told them that please just take pictures so I can prove that, okay, if he's running around, okay, there's proof. Okay, then give me that ticket and I'll own up to it. But when somebody's just calling the cops because my dog is barking too loud or you think he's just running around. I mean, it gets annoying sometimes when somebody's just constantly calling the cops on you all the time just because you don't like my dog. You know, that's where I had to deal with two of my neighbors like that didn't like my dog, was constantly barking, and it's like, I don't say nothing when you guys are bumping your music at 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning. I keep it to myself, and they keep it to themselves. But again, I don't know, I'm just,
Are you saying that if the dog is deemed as a dangerous dog, that, you know, that you can put insurance on the dog and there's requirements that go along with that label? Are you saying that, are you asking not for that to happen? Because that's another chance, I guess. I don't know.
no,
Your dog's not getting put down by the city. That's your decision.
I'm sorry, what was that again?
If your dog is labeled as a dangerous dog,
Correct.
there's requirements that you have to meet in order to continue to have the dog. If you meet those requirements, you can continue to have the dog. If you put the dog down, then that's your decision to do that. That's another option that you have.
Oh, okay. Oh, well, again, I'm going to take the steps, like, the last time he did bite her, I did take the steps to put up signs, leashing him up about a kennel. I took the steps to do what I had to do as a dog owner. Only thing I didn't do was put insurance on the house for lives as a dangerous dog. Again, that's when I was reading the ordinance, whatever, that I had an opportunity after 6 months, that I had an opportunity to call somebody to evaluate my dog to see if he is dangerous or not, because again, insurance is high and it's very expensive. So, but again, I'm willing to take the knowledge steps, what I need to be done, and if you guys down the road give me the opportunity to give this another shot, otherwise I do have to put him down, but I just don't see him dangerous at all, you know. I really don't. I wish I had an opportunity to bring him in here to show it to you guys. But
I'm a dog lover. I have 3 of them myself, and my dogs, I take responsibility for them. They are always on their leads. Twice in this town, I've been walking my dogs, and my dogs have been attacked by unleashed dogs. It's terrifying, and my dogs were on a leash right next to me, and they get attacked by these dogs. Dogs that, I mean, unless you can, I mean, how are you gonna keep your dog from being loose again and hurting someone? And my dogs can be so gentle at home and with their families, but around other dogs, they get territorial, they're protecting their home. I believe you when you say your dog is gentle with your family, but it's obviously not with strangers. So what are you gonna do to keep the public safe from your dog?
you know, this ordinance said to put a muzzle on there. Had to put a muzzle, and then again, 2 years ago, I had an electrical fence put up for him. He had that on there, but I just didn't like the way it shocked him and the way he didn't like it, and he was too scared to go out, even outside, because he was scared to get shocked. So after a while, I just took that off and just let it be. And then we were making sure that he was chained up and locked up most of the time. But again, I'm gonna have to take these extra steps to put cameras up on my house, to put electrical fence up on again, and more signs.
Cameras and signs aren't gonna stop dog attacks. And I don't mean to be strict, but I firmly believe as a dog owner, it is our responsibility to keep the public safe from our dogs and to keep our dogs from getting in this position. So I don't mean to be hard on you, but I'm passionate about this because my own dogs have been attacked. But signs, cameras aren't, yes, you might have to do those things because of the ordinance, but how is that gonna stop attacks?
If you have an idea, I'm willing to hear out and take that initial step if you have something.
So if I could just interject here.
Sure.
So under the ordinance, the council does have the authority when it rises to the level of a dangerous dog. So the first 2 attacks, city had deemed the dog potentially dangerous. And that carries with it a whole litany of requirements. The dangerous dog is a higher threshold and has its own set of requirements. And those requirements include you have to provide and maintain a proper enclosure for the dangerous animal as specified in the ordinance, and that doesn't include an electric fence. It needs to be a freestanding structure with wall. If you look in the ordinance, I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but the high points are that it must be at least 32 square feet. It needs to have a height of 5 feet for the sidewalls of the fence. So that is mandatory in terms of if we're going to go the route of the dangerous dog, and you have to abide by the requirements. There's an insurance requirement that you are required to hold at least, I believe, a minimum amount of $300,000 in dangerous dog coverage on your homeowner's policy. That's mandatory. And you need to have an identifiable tag on the dog that deems it dangerous so people know. You have to register the dog with the county. You must license it with the city, and you must have up-to-date vaccinations. You need visible warning signs on the front and back of your property. And I should say, you need to provide proof of all of this on an annual basis to the police department. So if the council does make a determination that the dog is in fact dangerous, those would be the requirements that you would have to abide by. There's also the discretion that the city has that if they don't feel that you're able or willing to keep the community safe and abide by those requirements, they can order the dog to be humanely destroyed. Third option is not moving forward on a dangerous dog determination. So those are the three options. And I think tonight it would be very meaningful for the council to hear your willingness and plan to make sure that all of those are accomplished in short order. And so you've said that you're willing to do kind of whatever it takes, and that's admirable. But I don't know that I've heard you say that you're willing to do exactly what's in the ordinance. It sounds like when it was a potentially dangerous dog, you complied with some of the requirements, but perhaps not all of them. Are you in a position to build the necessary enclosure, to put the insurance on your house, to make sure that the dog is up to date on vaccinations, all those requirements that I just spelled out?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
That does include the muzzle too.
Oh, and excuse me, another requirement is the muzzle, which you referenced.
Mentioned already.
Yes, I am required to do the city ordinance and do what I need to do as a responsible adult I am.
Does council have any other questions?
What's the time frame on that? You know, like, let's say that's the route we go. I mean, I'm assuming you get like a month or something. I mean, what's?
There is a little runway. I'd have to look through the ordinance. I don't have that number offhand. Steve or Charlie, are you aware of what the timeline that they give?
I believe 14 days.
Okay. Are you in a position to do that within 14 days?
Yeah, I can get it done tomorrow.
Okay.
Amy, are you willing to speak at all, or what's your thoughts on all this? I guess
If-
I'd like to give you the opportunity to say some of your.
If you're willing, I think it would be good for the record.
Again, Amy, for the record, just introduce yourself. And
Okay, Amy Bartles. I'm sure everybody knows I like to walk. I live in a small town. I feel like I shouldn't have to worry about where I walk. If I'm in the country, sure, I get it. A dog wants to take my leg off. But, you know, it's been twice since I've been, you know, bit. I have pictures. I sent them to the cops both times. The first one, I had pants on. I have a bruise. This was in February. This is a winter. And he took my calf again. I was on the opposite side of their street, walking, minding my own business, and the dog came out and like grabbed my calf and ran off onto their, you know. So I have proof of that. And then the second time just was in June. I actually had running pants on, thin pants, and it punctured my calf. Same, and I didn't even see it. I was on the opposite side. So like, I don't know, it's the guy that owned Buck's Repair. Supposedly, they were inside the house, and they did see it because that night I went to the store, and I'm like, oh, I'm getting some antibiotic cream. And she's like, oh, are you Amy Bartles? And she's like, I go, yeah. And she's like, oh, I saw that happen. My husband saw it out the window. And I go, yeah. I said, I'm going to go to urgent care tonight because my brother-in-law is a cardiologist, and he's like, you don't want to mess with dogs. They have dirty mouths, and rabies is a huge thing. And I go, that's great. So at 8:30 that night, I went to the urgent care, and I didn't go earlier because my husband and I had this parade in Winthrop, and I drove along with him in the truck. So we went to that. So that's why I didn't call. I mean, my calf was sore all day. It was, and then my sister's like, oh, Jamie said you should go to the urgent care. So I went that night. So anyway, and then the doctor's like, well, I'm not going to give you a rabies vaccine because they're bad and they're not fun. And I said, okay, great. She's like, so find out if the dog is vaccinated with the rabies vaccine, I said, okay. So anyway, my other point is how many times does it take for somebody to do something with a dog? Is human life less important than an animal? That's all I ask. I feel that with this animal, it should be euthanized. That's all I have to say. Because if there's a kid walking by and the kid gets mauled in the face, takes off the face, kills the kid, then what? Who's going to be liable for that? Is that what they want? I mean, that's all I ask. And I'm not here to, whatever. I'm just stating my mind. So that's all I have to say about it. That's it. And I have pictures, police reports, whatever. And I've had another dog attack me too. So, but it didn't bite me. So anyway, that's all I ask, just to make it known. So that's it. I don't know if anybody has any questions, but
Did you end up with stitches from it at all?
I didn't, but I had to have my diphtheria tetanus shot was due, and so they gave me that also in the urgent care that night. So I drove to Waconia that night and back. So it was a long night. It was like 10:30 when I dropped off my paperwork with the police. So it was too long of a day. So anyway, I got lucky a second time. That's all I have to say about it. And it is ridiculous that, people, if they can't take care of their animals, what else? If they can't take care of animals, then what? But I'm just saying human life is more important to me than animals right now. So that's all I have to say about it.
Thank you, Amy.
Yep.
So, based upon what you've heard tonight from the victim, the dog owner, and the chief of police, who is speaking obviously for the officer that responded to this, like we said, there are three options tonight. You can determine that by a preponderance of the evidence, which is more likely than not, you don't believe that the dog did in fact bite the victim. In that case, a dangerous dog determination would not be appropriate. If you do feel that the dog did in fact bite the victim, it is on the record that the dog has bit somebody, another third party one other time, and the victim another time. So it appears that the incident would qualify under the ordinance as dangerous dog. You could make that finding tonight and impose the requirements that are mandatory under the ordinance. The third option is to order the dog to be euthanized. And I'll state that what it says in the ordinance, that the animal control officer or the council has the authority to order the destruction of a dangerous animal upon the finding of a dangerous dog when the record suggests that the animal is dangerous as demonstrated by a vicious attack, an unprovoked attack, an attack without warning, or multiple attacks. Or the owner of the animal has demonstrated an inability or unwillingness to control the animal in order to prevent injury to persons or other animals. Based upon what's on the record tonight, you could make a determination that you feel that this qualifies under that portion of the ordinance and order that the animal be euthanized. So does council, the mayor, or staff have any specific questions about the ordinance or kind of how this process has laid out for me?
I'll give my opinion that at a minimum, I definitely believe it needs to be declared a dangerous dog. I mean, it's 3 times. I walk, my wife walks, and there's plenty of times we're walking too, and dogs are not tied up and they come running, and it completely freaks my wife out, and it irritates me too. And it goes back to, like you said, if you're gonna have them, you gotta be responsible for them and take care of them. Whether you're working, whatever you have going on the day, it's just like kids, you still gotta have care for them. You can't just leave them at home and let them run and do what they want. And it kinda sounds with this dog, that's what's happening. If you're not there, other people are just letting it out, not controlling it. And then we have this situation where people are trying to enjoy the outdoors in the summer, going for walks, and they can't even do that because they're afraid of getting bit by dogs. So at a minimum, my opinion is it's definitely a dangerous dog.
Felicia?
Before you guys make your final city decision, is it all right if the citizens speak? Because I had a word and then my son also had something that he wanted to say before you guys made your decision, if that was all right.
We already heard from your husband, so if you want to come up, but keep it short.
Okay.
And for the record, you have to introduce yourself and provide your address.
My name is Felicia Rangel, also owner of the dog, and I also reside at 414 Prairie Avenue. My main concern was that if she thought he was so dangerous and had allegedly bit her before, why was she continuing to walk towards? She makes that round all the time and then still had no fear to continue to come where she knows that we have him, and he's normally on a leash, which is pretty long. It's like a 4-foot leash or a 5-foot lanyard that he's normally on. She had no problem doing her rounds ever before. She came back again, and also I seen her walking the very next day, still very close to the same round. So if she was so in fear and thinks that his life is less than hers, she has control over where he walks. We reside in that area and we own our property. And he also then, normally is supervised, and he is normally let out responsibly. My only thing was her wait time on going to the hospital and parades and all of that was allegedly more important than getting her care. So I'm sorry for your long night, but if it was an emergency or if it was me, I wouldn't have went to parades or anything else that she said she had went to. And then also to be going down that same route where she said he had bit her before. And then that's it. Thank you.
Just to clarify some of that, you own your property, but you don't own the streets. And the public is entitled to walk on whatever streets and sidewalks they choose to. And then it's also in the city ordinance that the lead can't reach the sidewalks or streets. I can't remember the foot thing, so. Okay. Did Marco, or did your son want to speak?
I think Scott kind of hit it on the head. Obviously, we don't want to see, I mean, we all have pets, we hate that this happened, but, what Scott said kind of hits the head of the nail. I want to walk around and not be worried about, having a dog come after me. I know I've been on walks and here comes a dog, and fortunately for me, I haven't been bitten or nothing, but, like in what you're saying is, what if I had walked down by your house and, maybe Amy was part of this, labeling him as a dangerous dog can help other people know that, hey, something's already happened, maybe now you can stay away. You know, if I'd be walking and see, you know, these signs, if I had my dog, I'd turn around and go the other way. And I think that's the point of labeling it as a dangerous dog. It's not to, I guess, take your dog away. You know, we just want people to be informed so that way they can make a safe choice.
He still hasn't been charged as an official bite as of yet, because to us, the picture doesn't look like an actual dog bite. I mean, we've seen the other ones that was undeniable, not alleged. So we're still in the process of taking that and defending our side for our rights. Children come on our block all the time, neighbor kids, new neighbor kids, and he has never done this. Not to their parents, not to these children, not to my children. And my mom's dog too come. So we're still in the process of deeming it an actual bite and actually by our dog because we didn't, you know, she didn't have no proof. She didn't have a picture of my dog right there that bit her. So there's still deniable cause of that it was my dog. And the fact that she waited was another thing that we're still in the process of figuring that out, of why it took so long. And she didn't take a picture of the dog, of the actual incident. The pictures that we got, she was in her house already. Like, she had a picture of my dog right there, like, that's something different. She has her phone when she's walking. We see her walk all the time. We're very familiar with her. She has accused my dog before, and he's already got that second strike because of her. So we're wondering if she's seeing us as, like, we don't know yet. So we're still in the process of defending that.
Well, I wouldn't say it's because of her, it's because your dog isn't leashed up and kenneled up and taken care of like it should be. Again, they figured it out, the police came down there, they investigated it, and it was determined that that was the dog.
On her accusation, though. On her accusation. She didn't have a picture.
Yes,
of my dog.
and she just said their neighbors saw it too.
We didn't hear nothing of that accusation that she said.
I mean, the bottom line, anybody in town should be able to walk anywhere they want in this city, whether it's past your house or my house or anybody's house. And you kind of put the blame on her that she shouldn't be walking by there anymore because she got bit by your dog. And that's not right.
So just to clarify what the legal standard is here, it is by a preponderance of the evidence. Basically, it means more likely than not, 50 to 51%, that the dog did in fact bite a person. So on the record tonight, we have the chief of police stating that his officer took down a police report in which the victim stated to the police officer credibly that this dog had bit her in the leg. Further, the victim got up and testified to the council that this dog bit her in the leg. So in terms of what your job as the council is tonight, is you can make a finding that you find the word of the police officer who found that credible, or the victim who testified today that the dog did in fact bite her. If you don't find that information and that testimony credible, then you're welcome to weigh that into your decision as well. But it is not a requirement that a court adjudicate a case that finds, either civilly or criminally, that a dog bite occurred and somebody is liable. For the purposes of this finding, like I said, by a preponderance of the evidence, you need to make a finding whether you believe the dog bite occurred or not.
At this point, Scott shared his opinion. You need a motion for our finding?
Yeah, I guess when council feels like they're ready to make a decision and go a certain direction on this, that would be the next step, is a motion.
I believe there is a preponderance of the evidence that she was bitten by that dog, and I do make a motion that we classify it as a dangerous dog.
So we have a motion from Kufal. Do we have a second?
Just to clarify your motion, could you spell out what remedy that you're proposing, whether it's the euthanizing the dog or placing the requirements spelled out in the ordinance?
I would say the requirements, start with the requirements spelled out in the ordinance, but if they're not followed through and it happens again, then it definitely would be, for me, it would be euthanized at that time. But I'm willing to give them one more chance, making sure that that dog does not get out again.
So it sounds like the motion on the table is a finding of a dangerous dog and requirements from the ordinance.
Ordinance, correct.
Okay, so that's the motion on the table. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Padilla. Any discussion or questions? I have one. What happens if after the time period they're given to remedy, to make all those things, what happens if that doesn't happen in 14 days or whatever it might be? Like, then what course does the city take?
Then the ordinance gives some latitude to the police department in terms of what the next steps are, and mostly that's because any given situation is going to call for a little different remedy, but they would include seizing the dog and impounding the dog for a period of time while essentially we do another one of these hearings likely to decide whether a finding of euthanizing the dog is appropriate, or if there can be a way to manage the requirements with the owners.
Okay, then all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Okay, moving on to the next on our agenda, we have 9G, the Gaylord Library, hiring Amy Bell as a part-time library, so I will turn that over to Steve.
Last week, the library board actually held a special meeting, and one of the items that they did talk about was a resignation that had been proposed by one of the current library assistants. And primarily that resignation revolved around the working of Saturdays. The library is currently open every Saturday from 9 until 1, so 4 hours every Saturday, year-round. And one of the board members actually stated that they would be willing to, if they were hired by the city, to work just Saturdays and other times as needed, but primarily just the Saturdays. And that member of the board is Amy Bell. And so two members from the board, myself and Michelle Waltz, interviewed her earlier this week, yesterday actually, and is a recommendation of that committee to hire her in that capacity as a library assistant. And then the other library assistant agreed that they would be willing to stay on, which we would like to see happen. And basically, this individual, or Amy Bell, would be working primarily on the Saturdays. And again, as needed other times. Initially, she would be trained in likely during the days, during the week, because that's when Michelle Walsh works. And then when Michelle deems she's ready to start working on her own, then she would be doing that. It probably wouldn't take too long, but that would be the course of action. So basically, what was proposed here would be to hire her in that capacity as assistant librarian, and to start her out at grade 2, step 1, which is $11.49 per hour. So this is a part-time position again. And again, she would just be assigned to being working, her schedule would be Saturdays.
So are the hours that she works, and I believe it's Deb is the one that didn't want to work the Saturdays, right? But is willing to work sometimes?
Right.
So you'd still keep her, so between the two of them, are the hours going to be about the same as what the one person works now or had been working?
Well, there would be a little bit of a loss of hours there, because now 4 hours, I think right now the other two, outside of Michelle's the only one that doesn't work Saturdays, generally. The other two that we currently have on staff, they alternate the Saturdays. So if they're alternating and they're not working any more Saturdays, that would be, generally speaking, 4 hours that would no longer they would have.
So payroll-wise, cost-wise, it shouldn't make, there's not going to be.
From a cost standpoint to the city, it will not be impactful, but to the individual staff person,
It will be.
Yes.
I am on that board, and in that discussion, when we talked to Amy, and Amy said, hey, I'll work Saturdays. Well, that sounds great, right, until it was brought up, until you get another job, and then here we sit with Saturdays. And she said, I am not going back to the corporate world. I only work the jobs that I want to work. And so that will not happen. I want to do this, and I'd be committed to it, and working all the Saturdays is not a problem for me. In fact, I can pick up other hours if somebody else wants off, because, you know, what happens then during the week? I don't want to, I have a Tuesday, I can't work. And she's like, she could pick those up as well. And she's here in town and is very flexible. So we did go over a few things with her.
And Deb is okay with still working then, but having reduced hours, or
She's fine with that, and I did ask her the question, you can't expect somebody to work a Saturday or any other day of the week year-round, every year. People do get sick or have other things come up, and Deb is certainly open to working on Saturdays, just not during the summer months. But certainly during the winter. And Cindy has worked Saturdays before, obviously, over the years.
And that has come up too, and Michelle said that she could pick up too if that would happen.
Yeah.
You know, that if there was nobody else, then it would be her.
Yeah.
So,
So between all of them, it sounds like they pretty well have it covered. So,
So it seems to resolve a problem that we currently have. The one thing should note too, if she was hired, if the council does elect to hire her, she would have to step down in capacity on the library board. So we would have a vacancy then on the board, and she's aware of that.
Okay. I was gonna ask that if we had to find someone else to be on the board then.
one more question. Has there been discussion, because I know she talked about going full-time. I mean, is this going to affect any of that in
That
any
was
way?
Michelle.
Michelle,
Or Michelle? Okay. I think I'm flipping the names then.
the director.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
It should not impact that decision, but you guys had talked about bringing that up during one of our budget work sessions for next year.
All right. Well, I mean, as long as you guys just, I mean, it shouldn't affect anybody else in either way.
Anyone like to make a motion to hire Amy Bell as a part-time librarian, starting at, what was it?
Be grade 2, step 1, $11.49 an hour, and this is for the library assistant position.
So move.
We have a motion from Rose. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Groko. Any further discussion or questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Okay. Well, now it's Mitchell's turn. Next, we don't have anything under unfinished business. Under new business, we have property liability insurance renewal, and Mitchell Winslow from Community Insurance is here to talk with us tonight. So welcome, Mitchell.
Thank you very much. Again, I'm Mitch Wensloff, Community Insurance Agency, and I handle the property casualty, and I have for several years for the city of Gaylord. I'm just going to kind of go through, give you guys a high-level summary and overview of what we've done the past year, what any kind of changes that are coming up on the policy, and then kind of answer any questions that you folks may have. So before we get into the meat and potatoes of it, I just kind of wanted to talk about a year in review, what we've seen this past year, what the city has experienced. Steve and I, we've worked together on a couple different liability concerns that the city has had in regards to mutual aid agreements, as well as the different gear each department may bring to a call. Liquor liability as it pertains to the pavilion and the state baseball tournament, as well as the bearing of manholes west of 10th Street there. The league has handled and closed out several water sewer backup claims that stem from the wet June we had in 2024. We've also settled the land use claim as well as a significant slip and fall claim in the last calendar year. Last item there is we just wrapped up those 2023 hail claims that we had in that October 24 storm. Looking high level overview year over year compared to what we've got, the two things that are going to stand out to you is the municipal liability as well as the excess liability. You'll see double-digit increases in both of those departments, and that largely stems from the experience modifier increasing about 21 points. If you look at in your council packet, I included the past 5 years of loss history. And if you look underneath the liability standpoint there, you'll see we've had about $195,000 in losses in the last 5 years. And, you know, this coming year, we're paying $22,000 a year for that municipal liability. So we've paid in between $80,000 and $90,000 in premiums. And this league has had to fork over nearly $200,000 in liability claims. It's not hard to understand why we're seeing an increase in that experience modifier. So again, because our underlying liability has increased significantly, you're going to see your excess liability increase. So if you were to have a claim that would blow through your underlying liability limits, that's where your excess kicks in. So if they're viewing you as an increase in exposure on your underlying, that's why you see it in the excess as well. If you look at property, base liability and cyber, they're all down. Their base rates are down 8%. However, if you look at the property, we're seeing only about a 2.29% decrease. Well, that's similar to your homeowner's insurance. If you look at your homeowner's insurance each year, they have an inflationary factor. The city also has that. This year was 4.8%. So if you look at a $1 million building on the city, this year it increased about 40,000 just to kind of keep up with building materials, labor, and things of that nature. So most of you are familiar with that process. Getting into the nitty-gritty of the municipal liability, we talked about this in the previous slide, adding up to about 22,000. This is just kind of how it all breaks down. It's based on 5 different factors. You look at employment, we got 12 full-time employees. We look at our city expenditures year over year. We look at land use as well as sewer hookups, and then the full-time police officers that we've got and our exposure. Just wanted to briefly touch on excess liability. I did that 2 slides ago. Again, the excess liability kicks in as you've blown through your underlying limits. We've got an additional $1 million that we purchased as a council in 2023. This policy is costing us about $7,000 this year. Brief overview of our autos. We currently have 18 autos scheduled. It's costing us about $7,300 a year for our auto insurance. We got $250,000 limits of liability, $500,000 each accident, and again, we got that excess umbrella over the top of things. You may ask, what's hired non-owned auto? It's only a $73 premium. What hired non-owned is, if we were ever have a rental unit, or say an employee jumped in their personal vehicle, or ran an errand to Napa, or got something else, and they've gotten involved in an auto accident, could be covered underneath our liability if they're using their trip for business purposes. Municipal property, the city has 53 locations, totaling just shy of $28 million in property as well as contents. Again, our deductible, whether it's liability or it's property, is $2,500. If you folks remember in '23 when that hailstorm came through, we had damage to our automobiles as well as property. We pay one common loss deductible, so we pay $2,500 for the storm, and we move on. We do have one item. So we've got the unscheduled mobile property blanket. If you recall, I think it was in 2022 where we had an officer that was rear-ended, and we totaled out that police car. You've got one portion of the claim is the auto itself, and then you've got some of the attachments and the equipment inside. That all gets covered underneath the unscheduled mobile property. Anything that we have that's under a $250,000 value, say we've got like an ATV, UTV, lawnmowers, everything under $250,000, that's all covered by that unscheduled mobile property blanket. The one item that we do have that's valued over $250,000 is that grader. And then we also carry equipment breakdown coverage valued at $350,000, or that's what we pay in premium, excuse me. But equipment breakdown, that's going to cover things like the water treatment facility, pumps, agitators, electrical wiring, should there ever be a sudden and accidental breakdown, something due to other than age. Moving on here, I just want to talk a little bit about the dividend history. As you look back here in the last 5 years, you can see the League of Minnesota Cities has paid a dividend ever since its origin in 1987 on the property and casualty side of things. You can see in 21, 22, obviously the league had very good years and they paid out a very lucrative dividend. But if you look at base rates since 2020, they've actually lowered base rates. And I had a college professor that once told me a dividend is really just an overpayment of premium. So if you see a dividend coming back, yeah, it just means, we paid more on the front end. But, so it's good to see that we're paying back a dividend. It's good to see rates trending in a lower direction overall. And again, the city did receive a nice dividend on the work comp side of things. I don't deal with the work comp side of things. The city handles the work comp side of things in-house. But they did see about a 20% reduction in premium this past year. I do have my contact information up here if anybody were to have any questions or need to get a hold of me for any kind of reason. And again, I just want to thank you folks for the opportunity, the opportunity to serve the city. If anybody's got any questions, one other thing I do have to address here, and we do have to address this every year, is we've got the liability coverage waiver form that was included in your packet. Basically, what this does is the city and all Minnesota cities are covered by certain statutory tort limits. So in the event of an accident, the claimant is, depending on the type of accident, of course, but typically the claimant is only eligible for indemnification up to $500,000. Now, the city does have the option to waive those tort limits. However, it's been in our best interest to not waive those tort limits in order to protect the city and the taxpayers, should there ever be a claim arise. And traditionally, we have made a motion, so I think it would be advisable again that we do make a motion to not waive the statutory tort limits. If anybody has any questions or regarding the motion or regarding the presentation, I'd be happy to address.
Just to simplify that, basically this is insurance on top of our insurance.
Well, this is
I
the
mean,
insurance.
But I mean, it's giving us that extra above the 500,000, right?
So that's the excess, that's a different, are you talking in regards to the waiver or the excess itself?
The waiver, I guess.
No, so the waiver is what basically were to prevent a claim of excess of 500,000. One thing this waiver could not prevent is any kind of police liability. Police liability is not subject to this $500,000 limit. So if, say you had like a Parks and Rec limit, say something bad happened on a playground, say a slide fell apart or a kid fell off the playground, they would only be eligible to, you'd be protected by the Parks and Rec statutory tort limit of $500,000. That individual would only be eligible up to $500,000 of indemnification. Now, police liability is held different. We could potentially blow through our excess limit in the event of a severe case involving police liability.
So, yeah, that's correct. So if, say, there's one of the slip and fall cases that we had, and there was a judgment, it went all the way to trial, and that judgment found that there were damages compensable for, say, $800,000. So there is a statutory limit on our liability that would bring that down to $500,000. So city is not, to certain claims, it doesn't have exposure above $500,000. And so what we're doing here, or at least considering, is some cities will say, yes, we know that we don't necessarily have to be on the hook for any dollar above that $500,000, but $500,000 doesn't necessarily go as far as it used to, and so some cities will say, as a service to the community members, which is usually a community member that gets hurt, we're going to waive that so that if somebody gets hurt, something very catastrophic, something very tragic, and they have compensable damages in excess of that, the city is essentially volunteering their coverage over and above that as a service to community members. So not every city is the same. Not every city is in a position to do that. In the past, this city, Gaylord, has said that they're not in a position to be paying out higher insurance premiums to cover, up to X amount of dollars over and above that. That's reasonable. It's also reasonable to say that we're going to pay more in premiums so that we have, more coverage and can offer that to people that get hurt. So my recommendation, I think it's staff's recommendation, would be not to waive the statutory limits, just because that's always been our past practice. Just given that Gaylord is a small city, isn't necessarily in a position to be covering massive claims like that. Is there anything you want to add, Steve?
No, I really don't, outside of I concur what Mark said.
Thank you. I'm not an insurance agent, so.
No.
Maybe
I want to know how the watch was made on that one,
Yeah.
sorry. But
I have a question about a claim that you have listed here.
Yeah.
The two for the squad car, one's 26,000 and one's 12. If our guy was on a traffic stop and he got hit, why are we paying?
I would have to reference that again here, but if memory serves me right, the other party was uninsured.
I was gonna ask that question, that was my thought, is probably the other party didn't have insurance, so then we get stuck with it.
Okay, so we need a motion tonight to not waive the monetary limits on municipal tort limit liability established by Minnesota statute 466.04.
So moved.
A motion from Padilla. Do we have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Kufal. Any other questions or discussion for Mitch while he's here?
I guess regarding just your report, so you kind of act as a liaison kind of thing. I just saw you went over some of the other, like the graders and all that other equipment, and
Yep. You know, periodically, we meet with Steve, you know, if there were another public works employee that, you know, had, or, you know, a good handle of it, that, you know, said, hey, maybe we have another piece of equipment that is, you know, valued at more than 250,000, you know, we'd certainly be all ears to scheduling that as well.
yeah, I don't think that grader is probably worth close to that. I guess I just want to make sure we're not paying a higher premium or anything on
Yeah,
stuff
so
that's.
what you are paying for that is, if you look at, in the breakdown, I believe it's under $100.
Yeah.
That's just a valuation.
I know it's not much. I just know, like, we have other equipment that I think is worth more than that, not that we're shorting ourselves somewhere else, and,
Yep.
I mean, I don't know if that affects things for you. I just want to make sure that it's, I guess, taken a look at. 'Cause I mean,
Yeah, we paid $98 additional for that unit scheduled at.
yeah, because I mean, we got that payloader and the new grader too that are obviously worth probably more than the 1980, but,
Yeah.
just something to maybe go over on your end with Steve.
Yeah, we can certainly, and again, this is all fluid too, so it's kind of like a homeowner's insurance. If you do an addition or you get a new piece of equipment that's valued at 250,000, we can add it at any point throughout the year.
Yeah, because then you basically make your recommendations on what the league recommends,
Right, yep, so,
such as,
I
like on the
mean-
manhole thing and stuff like that.
sorry, could you repeat that last part?
Such as, like you mentioned on that third or fourth slide, like manholes or anything like that.
Right.
Kind of work together to.
Yeah, kind of like you said, a liaison guy between me, Steve. We've got a team at the League of Minnesota Cities bouncing off them as far as underwriting, and their team of, they got lawyers on staff there. Yep.
Okay.
There's nothing else. We have a motion on the table, so all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a great night. Thanks, Mitch. Moving on to 11B under new business, we have the 115 4th Street building demolition quotes. I'll turn that over to Steve.
Okay, thank you. Going back to May of this year, was the last time we talked about that building at 115 4th Street, as far as demoing it. As you recall, some of the background here, we do have an agreement with the property owners that would allow the city to go in and remove the building. Back in May, we had talked a little bit about some of the other things that come with this removal of the building, specifically in reference to we have some environmental issues out there. There's some contaminated soils that have some petroleum products that have seeped into the basement of this building from the property to the south. We also, from a demolition standpoint, we have a lot of Xcel Energy power poles over there, above ground power, that would have to be at least coordinated with Xcel during the demolition time period. We have been, or I've been in contact with Minnesota Pollution Control Agency and talking with them. Also with the property owner to the south, who has hired an environmental consultant for the cleanup of their property. The PCA has given that party notice that they have to clean it up. They are the responsible party. That is a actual legal terminology when we're talking about contaminated soil, and they are responsible for the cleanup. So we talked a little bit about financing options too back in May as far as this is concerned, and I'll go into a little bit of that. But basically at the May meeting, you basically directed me to go out and solicit quotes for demoing the building. You made no more further decisions at that point. You just gave me a direction. So at this point, I did solicit from 2 different local contractors. One of the 2 did submit a proposal or a quote in your packet, starting on page 108. That information is there. The one quote that we did receive was from Rachel Aggregates. Basically, Austin Frondice was the person that I spoke with, gave Austin a tour of the building, answered any questions that he had, and their quote was $113,200. Because it came under the $175,000 threshold, as far as bidding, sealed bids go, we're within the law here. In light of that, we did solicit for more than one contractor. We do meet the law requirements that way. Even though we did receive only one quote, the council could take action on that to award that if you so desire. I believe I've shared too that we did have the building and, as required, because it's a commercial building, we're required by the PCA to have it tested for asbestos. And so we did have, you had approved a quote for doing that from a local contractor again. And that report was completed. There was a little bit of asbestos that was found in the building, specifically under the stair steps. There are steps that go up to the second floor, and there's also steps that go down to the basement, and underneath the steps was where it was found. And so that would have to be mediated as part of the project, so the contractor would be responsible for taking care of that. Somebody with a license would have to mediate that, and basically the party that did the initial asbestos testing could do that, and likely would be. So in this respect, there is a lot of coordinating would have to be going on here with the state. Again, I forgot, this is an important thing to mention. This whole project to remove the building is to remove the building only down to the foundation. According to the PCA, if we remove the building all the way down to the basement, into the foundation, we will be getting into the contaminated soils or areas, and then we become the responsible party for the cleanup. So that is the trigger here, is we don't want to obviously be that. We don't want to be taking responsibility for any of the cleanup. So we'd only be able to take the building down to the foundation to prevent us from being the responsible party. Again, this all triggered because of that back wall that caved in. There was a concern that this would be, it was determined by the council to be at least potentially a hazardous building. The property owners have basically literally walked away from the property. They are not paying any taxes on the property. There was a mortgage on the property. They totally walked away from it. They're still the owners. Again, we have the written agreement signed by them to give us permission to go onto the property to remove the building, and that's all. We do not want to have, we're not suggesting we're going to have ownership in this property at all. Likely at this stage in time, it's probably going to go into tax forfeiture, and it'll go through that process, and the county will ultimately become caretaker of the property. In the meantime, we can remove the building. We will likely be coordinating with the property owner to the south and their environmental consultant specifically. It's possible that they might utilize our contractor to do the cleanup. That's their option or prerogative. We won't be a party to that. Our plan here at this point in time would be to remove the building above the foundation and then fill in the hole. And then from there, again, the state has put the property owner on notice to the south that they have to clean this up. There are avenues, legal avenues that the state has if they basically ignore that. And my understanding is the property owner to the south has intentions to go ahead and comply with the state. So with this, I guess that's all I have to report at this time, and I'll open up to any questions for me.
So you talked about him coordinating maybe and using the same contractor, so it can't be coordinated that he can clean up the basement and soil prior to us backfilling it? So we're gonna pay Daryl to backfill it, and then they're gonna come in and dig it out again to get all the.
He could possibly coordinate that ahead of time. Whether they work with our contractor or another contractor, they could certainly, we could coordinate those efforts, that it only has to be filled in one time. Ideally, that would be the best scenario.
Right. Because my guess, if we fill it in and he doesn't do it right away and they come back and dig it out, everything we put in there is probably gonna have to get hauled away too, because then that's probably gonna be considered some.
There's that potential, you're right.
What if that business to the south can't pay for the cost of,
Well, fortunately, there is state funding for this program, or there is a program available to them I believe it's through the Brownfield program, and up to 90% would be reimbursable from the state under the program of the cost for cleaning up. I can't say for sure that that party would get 90%, but up to 90% is available.
The city would still be responsible for the 113 though, right?
Yeah, yes.
Basically, that'd be our,
And for us, yeah,
We could assess it against the property.
yes.
the
But-
property being torn down, not,
Yes.
okay.
So even if he's gotta clean that up, it's still our responsibility to pay for the backfill and fill that in?
That's what we would be taking on. I mean, certainly the current property owner is the liable party. They own the property. They've just simply walked away from it. We're making a choice here to address a potentially hazardous building.
So that's part of our choice to pay for
Yes,
to backfill it.
to address this problem, potential problem.
with regards to that backfill, if you take that thing down to the foundation, you just can't leave a gaping hole there.
No, we would have to
Something
fill
has
it
to
in.
be done.
We would have to fill it in. Unless they're going to come in there and complete the project at that point in time, we will have to fill it in.
I think that might be the difficulty here too, is getting our efforts coordinated with the neighboring businesses' efforts so that there isn't this gaping hole that is every bit as dangerous as the structure that we just took down.
Our goal is to get this completed by the end of October. Probably the biggest challenge for us will be coordinating with Xcel Energy and working within their schedule to have, whenever this is going to happen in that time period, for them to come out. They might have to put in some temporary services for that day or two. We'll certainly have to give notice to the businesses around the area that will be impacted, whether utilizing the alley or just from the electrical standpoint.
You mentioned something about finances or ways to cover the cost of this.
Well, there isn't a whole lot of options here. Looking at the state, as far as if they had any grant or loan programs, the Department of Employment and Economic Development does have a grant and loan program for demolishing buildings. The grant program, the challenge with that is that you have to have a developer. The city doesn't necessarily have to own the property, but we have to have a developer that's going to come in and develop some housing, and then a certain amount of housing has to be developed in order to get grant monies back in the future. On the loan side, we don't qualify for a loan because we don't own the property. That is one of the requirements of the loan program. We've heard the county talk about the school building. Well, they have ownership in that building, so they would qualify for applying for a loan through deed. Unfortunately, we don't own the building. We aren't proposing to buy the building either, at least not at this time. Because we don't, again, buying the property triggers that we're now, well, we won't have to worry about the cleanup as long as we don't go down further in the foundation, but I guess we're not recommending going down that road at this time.
Is there a time limit that they have once the building's removed to clean that up so it doesn't just sit there like that?
That's going to be on the state to keep them moving forward. I believe the state has given them a time period for this, but that's between the property owner and the state. One of the things the state has mentioned to us, when we are working out there, our contractors on site working to remove the building, if we do happen to see or smell any contamination, we are supposed to contact the on-call emergency cleanup crew. There is a number that we have to call in. So we just have to be conscious of that. And they will come out as well as to, I think before we'd fill it in, they would come out and just inspect the property. So hopefully, like we're kind of alluding here, is that this would all fall together, that we would be able to to coordinate our efforts here and get this all done in one project. Our part of it, and then the property owner to the south part of it.
And I think it would be, to his advantage too, to have it done at the same time while you have the contractor here, instead of then having to come back and then dig out what we put in there to get to the foundation. I think it would be a lot easier,
Yeah.
cheaper for him to do it at.
And it's all done at one time. One inconvenience.
Right.
So as far as financing this, really our only option here is our own capital project fund, which is our 801 fund that we use for equipment replacement and also for some smaller projects, we've utilized it as well. I will just mention, as far as this year, we've only had one expense that came out of that fund so far, and that was for the lawnmower at Walsh Field. Bill Schulte was here, and we split the cost on that. That was about a little over $12,000. So about $6,200 was our share of that. We did budget this year $120,000 to be as part of our levy. So basically that more and then the cost of this kind of wipes out the levy that we would have been adding to the fund. So that will leave us at the current balance approximately about $610,000. So.
How does that affect, like, because that money is used for purchasing all of our vehicles and all that stuff, isn't it?
Yeah, we still have our schedule, and we would, as time goes, depending on what we need to do as far as levying when we're buying equipment, like the fire truck that was just approved last meeting. So we'll be planning accordingly, adjusting our levy accordingly to what we need for equipment replacement. We have it's not an extraordinarily healthy fund, but it's a decent fund right now at $600,000, so that's not too bad. Based on our schedule, that fire truck is really the big thing that we have coming down the road. Nothing else comes close to that.
But if we were to move forward and do this, are the taxpayers' money, is it gonna be increased because we're demolishing this building?
We're not looking at any kind of levy for this. We do have the funds already within this 801 fund, so we're not going to be adding an additional levy on, like, say, for next year or something like that. So we're fortunate to be in a position that we do have the funds that we could absorb this cost. And it's kind of, it's a real unfortunate thing, spend this kind of money and we're not going to see a return on it. We're removing a building. Yes, we're going to assess the costs onto the taxes of this property taxpayer, but as I mentioned they're not paying their taxes. So it's likely going to go into tax forfeiture. And yeah, we could reassess that back on there, but likely it's going to sit out there. If the county takes ownership of the property or the state, they don't pay taxes. So, and likely if somebody was ever interested in the property, if we have $113,000 assessment on there, they might not be too interested in buying the property to develop it, put a building on there, for example. Maybe somewhere down the road, we might think about, maybe the property owner to the south has an interest in it, or maybe it becomes another parking lot.
We can we put that assessment against the taxes, and then if it comes to someday selling that property, say, maybe get half of it back or something back?
Yes, as you may recall, when we've gone into properties into tax forfeiture, there have been assessments on these properties, and you have had that discussion about individual properties in the past where maybe you've reassessed something back on there in part or in whole. That would be, the county gives us notice when these properties are going into tax forfeiture, and then we in turn, as staff, bring it to you and then ask what you want to do. Because when these things go into tax forfeiture, they're put out there for sale as well. The county will ultimately auction them off, and that'll be a question that the county will ask us, are you going to reassess those amounts back onto it? Because any potential buyers generally are going to ask that question.
Yeah, I think it's an absolutely terrible position that we're in, but I also feel that building's just been an eyesore and a hazard for years. I think we just need to get rid of it and be done. Anybody else has any other thoughts, but.
So is that your motion to approve the demolition quote to remove the building at 115 4th Street to Rachel Aggregates for $113,200?
That is my motion.
Okay. We have a second.
I'll second it.
Seconded by Groko. Any further discussion?
I just have a question under contractor responsibilities. It says haul and dirt fill. Is that putting black dirt on top, not just clay? So that way we can actually plant grass?
Yeah.
I just
we
want to
want-
make sure that we're not left with just a pile of clay that we have to
Yep.
haul more black dirt on.
Yep, we want to be able to price. That's a good point.
So I,
I mean, they'll probably put some clay in there, but we also want to have about,
yeah.
you know, depending on, you know, the next, you know, we'll finish our component of the job, but if the property owner to the south has to clean out the basement, they got to fill it back in, yeah, we want to make sure that there's going to be some black dirt there. You know, usually 3-4 inches is sufficient.
I just want to make sure we're not going to bring in more costs later by having to bring in black dirt, because technically this is it's just a dirt, you know? So I just don't want to see it filled with clay and then we can't plant nothing on it, so.
But is that gonna be the plan? I mean, it's not a very big lot. Do we want that? Just a
Well,
little grass?
For now, though, I mean, until something happens.
Yeah, right, but even at that, I mean, would we be better off just having the gravel and, or, I mean, does it make sense to have that little strip of grass here and the city's gotta mow that and keep
Right.
that up and versus just, I don't know, just a question. And it's not like it's a big area and we don't have any other big grassy areas downtown in between buildings like that, so I'm just curious if grass is the answer there.
That's a good point. Yeah, because then we're stuck mowing it.
Yeah.
Steve?
Well, the property, as far as where it's at right now, from a tax forfeiture standpoint, this will be year 3, the final year. If they don't pay any taxes, it'll go into tax forfeiture next year. And usually it'll takes a few months, probably closer to the end of the year, before it actually completes that whole process. And then the county will own the property. And they will be responsible for maintaining it. Basically, the state owns it, the county is the caretaker of it.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
So what, if I may ask, what's the direction here you want to go with? You
Oh,
want-
with,
As far as grass seeding or graveling
oh,
it?
I'm sorry, I thought you were just kind of thinking out loud on that.
Oh, no. Well, you brought it up, now I gotta ask. I mean,
I guess my question with that is, the foundation, is that the cement block still sticking out of the ground a little bit, or is it flush?
flat, flush with the top, yes.
So if we turn that into gravel, could anybody just use that as,
Private property.
Have to barricade it off or something.
yeah,
I would say regardless, because if you put dirt in there and try to seed it, people might think, well, I can park here, and you might have, I don't know.
right? Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, just thinking about it quickly, I would think gravel would make more sense, because we don't have to take care of it, worry about
That's-
weeds, stuff like
that's what I'm
that.
kind of thinking.
But yeah, I agree, maybe some kind of barricade, or at least a no parking sign or something, so people realize it's not a parking lot.
The thing is, we're not gonna own it,
I know.
we're not gonna own it, so we're not responsible necessarily to maintain it. But at the same time, the property owners walked away. So we plant grass there, it's gonna turn into weeds and
Yes.
so forth, and it's gonna look kind of
Yeah,
in our
I'd say
downtown.
Gravel would be better.
I think that's down in Belle Plaine a few years ago, they did that with a building that burned down and they put gravel. And so maybe just
Or
follow
get,
suit,
Well, yeah, I guess if we're gonna barricade it off so people can't go on there, regular gravel would be all right, but if we want people parking on there, then I think you'd have to go like something more dust-free or get some more, something that's not gonna be as dusty maybe.
We could barricade it off.
I think that would probably be the best,
Yeah.
being we don't own it.
Well, yeah. Ultimately, it depends on if they're gonna dig it back out again,
Well, yeah,
you know?
that's-
So I mean, we don't wanna get too wild, but
Well, my understanding here is we're talking about once everything is done. I mean, we wouldn't want to put gravel on there knowing that they're gonna have to
They're
dig it
gonna
up
go
again.
Dig it up, right,
so,
or seed it.
I mean, ultimately, under city responsibility, we're gonna be under, grass seeding the project area upon completion. Can we just leave it up to you guys as staff to figure out how you want to go forward with it. And just, I mean, that way you guys can justify as it happens. I think that's,
Yeah, because Ty might have some other
Yeah,
ideas too,
Yeah.
so.
talk to the guys and see what they think as far as,
because that way you guys can make a judgment call. I think the Dave will, I think I'll trust you guys, so.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
All right.
Just to finish on that one, just being that I own my business in Arlington, can I abstain from that one? I just don't want it to come across as a conflict of interest for that property owner to the south.
Can you still do that? I thought.
Did you
Motion.
vote?
I didn't
he
vote.
didn't,
Oh,
he
okay.
didn't say anything.
So Rose abstained from that.
Still do that?
Typically, you need to have a stated reason why you're abstaining, and it needs to fall under,
I'm asking if that is one, just being that I have a similar business to what that owner owns, and I just don't want it to come across like I'm,
the contractor that put in the
no,
bid,
the
or-
property owner to the south.
Oh, to the south. So you, in this case, you wouldn't necessarily have a direct financial interest in this, which is typically the test in terms of a conflict of interest in these terms. So you probably don't have a right to abstain. I think it was probably a good way to handle it by bringing it up and asking, just to communicate that you don't want there to be any appearance of impropriety.
Correct. That's all I wanted, just to at least put it out there, so, like I said, I just don't want it to come across that way, so.
So I think when the mayor recited it, did you think that Councilman Rose voted yes?
I thought he had. I didn't hear that he
Okay.
didn't vote, so that's why I clarified.
Do you
and
want to
asked if he
clarify
voted.
your vote in light of
As long
probably
as
not
you don't
having,
see
I don't
it-
think you have a conflict of interest.
Then I will vote yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry for the extra minute there.
That's okay, that was
That's
the
okay.
exact right way to do it. If you think there's an issue, just bring it up and you can talk it out.
Thank you. Well, I was debating on it, I was like, well,
Okay, so now
You
we're
get what
ready
I'm
to move
getting
on
at,
to
right?
11C, Duval Companies Development Agreement Amendment.
We just have one amendment to this, is on page, well, this item starts on page 113. One amendment is in respect to the date of the developer was supposed to commence construction, which was June 1 of this year. Proposes to change that to June 1 of 2026. The grant itself has a, that we receive for this project, has a deadline that we're supposed to utilize the monies by January 1 of 2028. That's without an extension. There are opportunities potentially for extensions of that deadline, but at this point in time, we're asking that the developer be completed with the project by December 31, 2027. So I recently had a conversation with him, and he was open to changing the date to that June 1 start time of next year.
But we're already past this year's start time, so.
Yeah,
it-
right.
Yeah,
It wasn't going to happen this year, yes.
okay, so we need a motion to approve the amended development agreement with Logic Impact Housing Melrose Street LLC.
So moved.
We have a motion from Kufal, do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Groko, any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Next is Resolution 2025-18, decertifying TIF District 5-1, Medical College.
Yeah, this is the district that was established for the medical school. This was a redevelopment district. As you know, the project never materialized. We never received any increments because they never finished the project, so no property taxes or increments were ever paid. And so, under state law, basically 5 years from when the district was established or certified, they have to complete the project, and in this case, it never was. And so we basically are legally bound that we have to decertify the district. And so the resolution in your packet is basically our general decertification resolution that our council has basically given us. Anyway, it's pretty straightforward. We've actually utilized this resolution in the past. We actually did one earlier this year too. It's the same type of resolution. So proposes to go ahead and approve that to decertify TIF District 5-1.
Any questions? I'm looking for a motion to approve resolution number 2025-18.
So moved.
We have a motion from Groko, do we have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Rose, any further discussion? Hearing Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Moving on to 11E, we have a resolution 2025-19, a resolution approving the transfer of certain funds.
This is a recommendation coming from the Gaylord Economic Development Authority Board. They have been administering what's referred to as our Commercial Building Enhancement Grant Program. We had funds from a small cities grant that we had received from the state a number of years ago. Those monies are now exhausted. The EDA has another fund that it's basically a revolving loan fund that has excess monies of about $250,000 in it. And the board has received another application for this grant program that they would like to assist with. It's a $10,000 matching grant program. It's been very popular here in Gaylord. We've been able to assist 9 businesses to date with that. And we've gotten a lot of praise from those businesses that we've been able to assist. It was very much needed. And so we'd like to do the 10th one, and that would mean that we would have to transfer $10,000 from the revolving loan fund into the what's referred to as our Small Cities Program Fund. And so this resolution that's in front of you here tonight is for that transfer itself. In order to do the transfer, you have to approve it in the form of a resolution.
How was that revolving loan fund established? Was that grant money as well, or where did that come from?
That's a good question. I'm sorry I don't have an answer of what the history of that fund is. To date, since I've been here, we haven't utilized it very much. I think we've done 1 loan. We've probably got about 3 or 4 loan outstanding with that program right now.
I guess my only question on that is, so we take this 10,000 out of there, we're kind of setting a precedent. If more businesses keep coming, are we gonna keep taking money out of there, and then pretty soon that's down to 150,000, and then we're that 100,000, I guess that's my question, is it okay just to?
And I think that's a fair question, and I think as far as the EDA goes, we should keep looking for grant opportunities to refund this program. But on the other hand, the county also has a revolving loan fund and Region 9. So there's lots of, not saying that we should deplete ours, because we shouldn't. We should keep a healthy balance on our revolving loan fund, but there are other loan opportunities out there. So in the meantime, until we can get another grant, another round of grants, it'd be a nice, and we talked about like setting a limit now that the grant money is gone, is how many people can apply for this every year. Before it was open-ended until the grant dollars were gone. But now we're gonna have to limit it so we keep our revolving loan fund.
That's kind of wondering where that money
Yeah.
is and how we're gonna manage.
Yeah, and Stephen Layton, correct me if any of that's, needs to be clarified.
That's basically what we talked about.
Yeah.
The board did. Yeah, I don't think it's their intent to draw us down. This is just an opportunity here. This is the only application that we had in front of us at this point in time. It's actually for a new business in town, so it kind of helps us get off to a good start with that business too.
Yeah,
No, and I'm not opposed to doing it, I was just curious where that money's from or how that was.
Yeah, I think the EDA
established
will
in-
just always look for grant dollars and apply when we can and try to redo that. That program is so, I mean, not only, the applicants have been so appreciative of it, but I just look at our small businesses and everything they do. All the money they give, tonight I was at the Miss Gaylord judging, and they're sponsoring those candidates, and it's just such a small way to say thank you
Yeah.
from the city, so I'd like to keep it going, and we just have to keep our eyes open and
For other
keep funding
grant,
it.
yeah.
Yeah, yep.
I think it's a good way to keep businesses downtown especially too. I think a lot of these were in the downtown area. So just to kind of cap on what Don said.
So this would be number 10 then, as far as businesses go. If you guys approve this, that we'd be able to assist.
I'll make a motion to approve it.
Okay, so we have a motion by Kufal. Do we have a second?
A second.
Seconded by Padilla. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Next, we have the 2025 budget update.
So this was something at the last council meeting. Actually, I think it was Jessica that brought it up as far as asking for just an update as far as our budget for this year. One of the things I guess I'd like to note, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time going through this because you've had an opportunity hopefully to just look at it. But when it comes to the city's budget, it's basically a snapshot in time. So much of our revenue resources, they come in at certain different times of the year. Some of our expenses also are incurred at different times of the year. The summer months especially, from a public works department, for example, a lot of their street maintenance, that's all during the summer. So public works is going to expend a lot of money during the summer months. So at the beginning of the year, they're going to look pretty strong, but during the summer months, then they're not going to look so great. So it does, some things may skew our budget is what my point is, depending on the time of the year. Our revenue sources, our two biggest ones, as you recall, is our property taxes and our state aid, local government aid specifically. Those two alone make up about 75% of our revenue. And we get two payments a year, one in June and July, and then later in the year, November, December. So again, when we get those payments, it's going to skew the budget a little bit. So basically, at this point in time, we're looking good. Probably one of the things that's really helped us out this year is that we got a reimbursement. This goes back to when the city owned the old elementary school. We had to, and then the new buyers took it over, we had to put $90,000 in escrow for the asbestos cleanup. Well, I don't know what exactly would happen there, but we ended up getting that $90,000 back, and that went right into our general fund. So that was $90,000 that we were not planning on, which is a significant amount of money for us in our budget. So we weren't planning for that, so that's very helpful for the year. And that's factored into these numbers here. So with that, I guess I'll open up to any questions. Like, again, I'm not going to go into all the details here, but.
Anyone have any questions? Thanks for the information. It's helpful to have that. Maybe it wouldn't be a bad idea to at least do it halfway through the year or quarterly or something, just to have our eyes on it.
Yeah, I could easily do this. So if you have a desire for this to be quarterly or twice a year, just let me know here, and I'll make sure we do that. Right now, we've been providing quarterly more of a detailed report. This is just a summary. We get into more of a line item by department. We do that quarterly. But if you'd like this as well on a quarterly basis or twice a year, whatever you want.
I don't want to create a lot more work, whatever.
I think this halfway through the
Yeah,
year, I'm good with that.
Yeah,
I mean,
agree. Yeah, I agree, yeah. Okay, well then we're moving on to 11G, scheduling a 2026 preliminary budget work session meeting.
I provided 3 dates here. Again, we have to adopt a preliminary budget before the end of September. September 30th is our deadline to submit that preliminary levy to the county. And so usually one of our 2 meetings in September is when we'll take action on doing that. So the 19th, the 25th, or the 26th are the only 3 dates I provided for at least this month.
I know for them dates, 19th is the only one that works for me.
And the 19th, I cannot, my daughter's having surgery that day. So it's like the only day I cannot do.
The 26th does not work for me. So the 19th was sounding good.
Yeah, the 25th won't work for me.
So them dates work for everybody.
Hey,
Yeah, so
The 25th and the 26th, I'll be out of state.
same.
okay.
Going to Yellowstone?
Well, I'm going
Utah.
to share this with you, what you did last year. It put a little bit more pressure on us, but we actually did a work session right before our regular city council meeting, and we had a 1-hour work session on the budget for next year. That was at the preliminary level, but we also then had another meeting later on as well,
So that would be the 20th? Is our next meeting?
or else the 3rd. I guess the 20th would be, that's really tight for me, but
Okay,
I can make it work.
or the 3rd is fine too.
The 3rd of September?
Yeah,
Yeah, then we'd be looking at adopting it, the preliminary, at our meeting on the 20th?
Sure.
The 17th of September.
yeah. I'd like to say if I get home in time, but I have a feeling they usually keep her pretty late on same-day surgery, so I don't think I'll get home till like 9 o'clock that night, the 19th. 3rd works. Great.
So
Before
we-
our meeting that night.
Yes,
doing this.
before our
Okay.
meeting.
So 5:30 again?
Yep, if that works.
So we'd only be addressing the general fund. We won't be doing the enterprise funds. We're only required to have the general fund adopted.
Yep, sounds great.
Is that enough time for you? Or, I mean, are you happy with that, Steve?
I can make it work.
Okay.
I made it work last year.
Come prepared.
It'll be a quick, I mean, it'll have to be quick,
Yeah.
so.
Lori?
If I can provide anything that's, any major things, I'll try to do that in an email, like on my Friday email to you guys, if there's anything.
Sure.
So the 3rd.
So we'll need a motion for that.
Okay.
September 3rd, 5:30.
So we need a motion to schedule a special city council meeting for 5:30 PM, September 3rd, 2025, for the purpose of reviewing the 2026 preliminary budget.
So move.
We have a motion from Rose. Do we have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Kufal. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Okay, nothing, any closing comments from council or staff? If not, who wants the honor of making a motion to close the meeting in Jessica's absence?
So move.
We have a motion from Kufal. Do we have a second?
Seconded.
Seconded by Groko. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.